Oh my gosh, I clicked broadcast. Oh,
You're recording.
why does that happen on
Oh,
mine?
we
It's
do
like,
have attendees. It looks.
yeah, I had to click broadcast. Should I stop
Okay, no, that's
recording?
good. We'll just get started with the people that are here. Um, thank you, Manali, for getting started. Can we go around and introduce ourselves? I'll go ahead and start. My name is Sinai, and I work with the Idea Engineering Student Center, and I help coordinate two programs for transfer students. One is a summer orientation program called Transfer Prep, and then the other one is a team. It's called Team, and it's for transfer students that are interested in a peer-to-peer mentoring program. Manali, do you want to go next?
So, hi y'all, I'm Manali. I am also a transfer student. I came from the LA area, so I went to Walnut Mount Sac Community College, and I'm a bioengineering major, bioengineering.
Thank you. Michael?
Cool. My name is Michael. I'm a mechanical engineer, so I'm in the MA department. I transferred from the San Diego Community College District. I'm actually a coordinator for the team program. So,
Awesome. Thank you. Chase?
Hi, everyone. I'm Chase. I'm a second year transfer, and I study computer science. So I'm in the CSE department.
Thank you. And then Willie is joining us now. We're doing introductions. Whenever you're ready, your name, department, and community college that you transferred in from.
Hey guys, my name is Willie. I am part of the ECE department. I transferred from De Anza College in the Bay Area.
Awesome. And then we might have one more student joining in. She is an alum from the SE Structural Engineering, and her name is Lindsey Jacobs. So we'll go ahead and get started. We have a few questions that we're going to go through first. If you do have questions for our panelists, I would say put them in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and be able to discuss them at the end of the presentation. All right. Our first question is, what are some campus resources that you wish you knew about or that were most helpful your first year?
I can go. I guess specifically for ECE majors, I would say is the ECE tutoring department, which is on the 5th floor of Jacobs School of Engineering, which is the school in which there's the building that looks like it's gonna topple over is at. And then the second would probably be transfer prep, which happened in the summer. That's kind of where I met most of my friends at, and a lot of good connections.
Also, CAPE is like a really big one where you're able, when you like register for classes, it shows like what professors gave students in the class regarding their grades. So that's definitely helpful if you want to see like how difficult the professor you're taking is, or any comments that you have, or what the grade was that students got. That's a big one. And like Willie mentioned, transfer prep is definitely a good resource. Like they had industry tours. So like for instance, for bioengineering, we went to JCREC. So it's really nice actually seeing like what your major and what it does like in real life. So I think that those are really helpful.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question is, where is a good place to make friends and find a support group?
I was muted. So I can start off. I would just reiterate that transfer prep was a really, really good resource. You're kind of batched in with your cohort, and then I'm still taking classes 2 years into it with my friends that I met in transfer prep. It's really hard to like go through everything like by yourself, but if you get a really good solid friend group through that, then that's a really great place. Also, Sinai mentioned TEAM, which is where we take upperclassmen transfer students and we pair them with incoming transfers. And then that's also a really good place to make friends and just kind of like find support groups and like continue to ask these questions to people who probably know the answers. So.
Anybody else?
I can talk about, kind of like one thing I would say is like, if you're interested in anything, you should really try to find like student orgs that align with your interests. It's like a really great way to meet people and like make friends outside of classes. And like, you know, I'm more familiar with like computer science oriented things, but there's like tons of big clubs, but there's also like really small niche clubs. Like if you're just really into like, if you want to make video games, I know a friend that like runs the like video game development club. So I think there's like a group for everyone, and it's kind of up to you to like try and find the clubs that you might fit in with, but it's totally worth it.
Thank you. And then, so Tiffany just joined us, and I'll let you introduce yourself. What major are you? And then what community college did you transfer in from?
Okay, so hi, my name is Tiffany. I'm a chemical engineer, and I actually transferred from another four-year university called Seattle University.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then Lindsey just joined us. Lindsey, can you introduce yourself? What community college did you come in from? What's your department, and where are you now?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Lindsey. I transferred from American River College in Sacramento, Northern California. I was in the structural engineering department at UCSD, and I graduated last year, and now I'm in a PhD program at UCLA.
Awesome, thank you. So we are on the second question right now. If any of you want to jump in, Tiffany or Lindsey that just joined us, is where is a good place to make friends and find a support group?
When I was at UCSD, I was a member of Dark Star, which is a science fiction and fantasy club, and I met a lot of people. They had like weekly board games. I was also in UCSD's board game club. I really like board games. And I was also a sister of Phi Sigma Rho, which is a social sorority for women in STEM. So all of those things were really great for me, and I made a lot of friends with them.
Awesome, thank you. Tiffany?
Yeah, I definitely agree. You can make a lot of friends and connections in orgs, but also the school puts out a lot of like start of the school year events, and that's a great way to meet people. And also like if you live on campus, the RAs put out a lot of events, and it's a good way to get to know like your floor and your neighbors, and that's a good way to make find a support group.
So our next question is hitting a little bit on what you all just mentioned. So organizations, which are some of the ones that you have joined that you find are really helpful or useful at UCSD?
For bioengineering, there's a club called BMES, and I think that that's a really good club to get involved in. They give you a lot of research opportunities, things like that, and networking is definitely a good one for bioengineering. Yeah.
Specifically for ECE, IEEE is the main one in which you could build connections and like find people that are maybe have similar interests. Project in a Box is also one that's pretty good. They focus mainly on kind of the technical aspect of things, in which like you're actually physically building circuits, maybe designing something for a project and all that. And then another good source that's more of a kind of like an honors club, but if you do have the chance to join that, I would highly recommend it. Very good opportunities to not only network and connect with people, but also they host really good events that are tailored specifically towards UCE.
What was it called, Willie? Sorry, you cut out a little bit on the name.
HKN.
Okay, thank you. Tiffany, did you have any to add?
Yeah, so for chemical engineering, there's ICHE, which is the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, and they have a lot of pro dev events and also social events, and 6 project teams. And there's another smaller org called ChemiCar, in which they build a car that runs exclusively on chemical reactions, and they compete every year.
Awesome, thank you.
I can talk about like some computer science clubs. They're kind of like what Willie talked about with IEEE. Like there's some really big computer science ones like ACM and like CSES. Some of the orgs that I'm in that like I'm more involved in are usually smaller ones. Like I'm in a club called Tritons for Sally Ride Science. and we pretty much just like volunteer at like high schools and junior highs, and like that's like my favorite club. It's like a really small group, and we just do like really cool stuff, and we're all really close.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
For civil or for structural engineers, I was a member of SCSE, and I was also a project team lead for their concrete canoe team, which got to compete yearly. Additionally, if you're looking for like project experience to build resumes, a big thing is you can take the global ties class. Usually it counts as a technical elective. It's pretty easy on the GPA, and you can get some like cool experience to talk about.
Cool, thank you. Moving on to our next question is, so UCSD is a big research institution. What opportunities have you had to either do internships or have research experience? You're on mute, Manali.
Sorry. Okay. So coming in as a transfer student, you definitely are going to be meeting a lot of classmates and stuff that already have like research experience. So that's definitely something that you want to get going. And so some resources that definitely help are Handshake, which is like an online thing through UCSD that gives you opportunities and a listings of like internships or any research opportunities that you're looking for. And so that's a great way to look at those and apply through Handshake. Also like Facebook, they have like a Facebook for lab opportunities, or like I was mentioning, a lot of the clubs that were mentioned here from the panelists, they have like a Facebook Facebook page where they post research opportunities there as well. And Career Services also has, they help you find any research or internships that you're looking for. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So I can hop in next. The postdoc that I'm actually doing research under right now came to my community college and did a little info session. And then at the end, he was like, if anybody's interested, I'll give you my email, then you can come and take a look at the lab when you have a chance. So I was admitted to UCSD, and then I went and took a look at the lab, and I thought it was really cool. So then I started talking with him, and really expressed like a genuine interest, as opposed to like a genuine interest in the subject, as opposed to just kind of like wanting to get into some place. And I think that the professors like really, really appreciate some like drive and just genuine interest in knowing what they're doing and wanting to learn more. But having said that, almost every professor that I've had has their own research lab. So if you have that chance to talk to your professor, I would definitely do that, see what they're doing. And if it sounds interesting, you can definitely just talk to them. So.
I can try and talk about like more industry oriented stuff. So I've had 2 internships, and I mean, I'm going to graduate at the end of 2020. So I'm going to have another internship this summer. Kind of like the way, like there's like tons of career things at UCSD. Like the Career Center holds events like every day. Like for computer science, for example, there's like companies will just like come by and like visit, and they'll do like a networking session. I would really encourage everybody to, like get dressed, get a resume and go. Like my first internship, I actually got like directly through the UCSD career fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on my 3rd internship for this summer. When I was an undergrad, I actually had a harder time getting active in research in my department, but I got internships. Mostly, I took a lot of personal initiative to get mine. I would like call the offices and remind them to hire me. But once I got my first one, it was a lot easier.
Tiffany, did you want to chime in?
Oh yeah, so a lot of I guess incoming students like to ask how do you get the experience to get the experience, as in like a lot of labs, like they might look for people who have prior like lab experience. And what I tell a lot of students is to join like student run projects. There are a lot of like orgs dedicated to like a specific project on campus. So I think that's like a good way to kind of get your foot in the door. That's something that I did when I first transferred. Also, for like lab experience, the way I got my lab, like got into my lab was actually I knew like someone who was already in the lab who had a position open. So like networking, I know a lot of people talk about that, but that's a good way like for like research experience and for internship experience. And also I'd really encourage like new students to go to like info sessions. A lot of orgs have like specific companies that come just to talk about their company and recruit. And even though you feel like, you know, you're not qualified, I'd still like encourage them to go because they will remember you. Like that's happened to me before, and that's how I've gotten one of my internship experiences. And I would also suggest to sort of treat internships as like a learning opportunity rather than trying to go in like knowing, pretending, or like feeling like you need to know everything going in, at least for like what I've seen in my like sort of area. So that's that's a suggestion that I like to give students.
Thank you, Tiffany. So for everybody out there listening, if you are an incoming student and you want to grab a pen and write down all these hidden secrets that we're going to be offering throughout the panel, go ahead and do that now. Otherwise, we'll move on to our next question, and it's what are the best study spots on campus and off campus to consider?
My favorite one on campus was 6th floor of Geisel. Geisel is like the main library in the middle of campus, main campus. And it's like, it has the perfect, they have like window seats and it's really nice view and it's quiet on the 6th floor. So I got a lot of work done off campus. There's this place called The Stats, which is in Hillcrest, and it's open, I believe, like 24/7. And it's like I think it's like a coffee shop. So yeah, and then there's like Better Buzz, which is like also a coffee shop. So those are nice places off campus. Oh, and Phil's coffee shop.
Yeah. Michael?
Yeah, so my favorite place personally, so Geisel, we have two main libraries. We have Geisel, which is the big ornate one, I think that everybody sees pictures of. Then you also have the biomedical campus, which is, I guess, west. Yeah, it's a little bit away from Geisel, but it's a little bit quieter, and there's usually less people there, so it's a nice, quiet place to study. So there's that. They also just opened up in the biomedical library, the transfer hub, which is for transfer students to come in and kind of get snacks and just meet with other people. And then for a place off of campus, down in the La Jolla Cove area, they have a place called the Living Room. It has a really nice view of the ocean, and there's sandwiches, coffee, and stuff like that. So.
Awesome, thank you. Tiffany, did you have some to add?
Yeah, so in PC, there's PC Theater, but outside of PC Theater, there's like a little lounge area, which is really nice to study in if you don't want to go to Geisel where it's really busy. Also off campus, I like studying at this cafe called Mango. Usually like after the lunch rush and dinner rush, it's pretty busy because it's a dessert and drink place, but in the afternoon, there's actually a lot of space and it's really fun and cute.
Awesome, thank you. So once you get on campus, feel free to use Google Maps and you put in any location you want to go around campus and it gives you walking directions. So that's really helpful if any of these places sound unfamiliar. If you use Google Maps, it'll take you straight there. So I guess if we're thinking about on campus, are there any people that would recommend living on versus off campus? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend, at least for your first year, to live on campus, just because it's kind of one less stress and worry that you have to worry about, because, you know, going to a new college and all that, and new area maybe, it does get pretty hectic. It's pretty kind of, nerve-wracking. So just having the thought of like not needing to drive or like learn the new traffic routes, and especially parking at UCSD is pretty bad. I would just recommend going on campus for at least the first year. You're kind of forced in a sense to make friends, so you're always going to have that, and I feel like it's just more fun in general.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So my first year, I lived on the campus. I lived in the village. I was in computer science and engineering housing. That worked really well for me. A lot of my roommates were on the same page. We didn't really have any parties, which wasn't really what I was looking for, was not a lot of parties. And I was able to study really well, and I got along with those girls. My second and third year at UCSD, I did move off campus, and that was good too. I think for the first year, it's important, like when you go to community college, for those of you who are transferring in from a CC, I feel like I was just kind of showing up to my classes, and then I would go home, and I didn't really connect with campus or anybody on campus. And once you get to a 4-year, you kind of got to like change the mentality. And the best way you can do that is living on campus.
Yeah, I also lived on like the same floor. Like they call them living learning communities, I think, that Lindsey lived on. And yeah, like I think the best thing is that you're just like, you can eliminate a big part of like your worry, like getting to school isn't necessarily super easy if you live off campus. So like, especially in your first year, like, there's going to be a lot of changes. It's kind of nice to like be on campus. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. And then also it's a really good way to make friends. So I lived in the village in my first year. And then now in my second year, I moved off campus with like all my friends that I was living with in the village. Off campus is usually more affordable.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what everyone said, how living on campus forces you to make friends. And also college is sort of an experience, and it's really great to during your first year to live on campus, because if you've never lived away from home, it's a good way to like learn more about yourself and how to be an adult and doing the adulting things. And also it's like gonna be rare that you're gonna have an experience like that again, like living next to like your friends, or like being able to just like go downstairs and work on homework and then go back upstairs back to your room and stuff like that. So I definitely would recommend living on campus your first year.
And also, just to let you know, we do have a free shuttle system at UCSD. So if you're transferring onto campus, living on campus, don't have a car, there's one that takes you to the Hillcrest neighborhood and to Old Town. And then in the weekend, there's also some that take you to like the grocery stores and to the airport. So there's that in case any of you need that option. And then moving on to our next question is, how did you all manage the transition from a community college to a UC? And what would you say was the most difficult part, and the resources that helped you overcome that difficult part?
I think the most difficult thing for me was transitioning from semester system to quarter system. And like the classes here were more difficult for me than like my community college. So it's definitely a challenge for me to get used to that. But living on campus, my first year really did help. That was like the main thing, because I was forced to like I was on campus all the time and like trying new study spots and meeting new people and studying with them and like friends and stuff. So that definitely helped me a lot. Yeah, and just staying on top of things and like trying not to procrastinate, because we all procrastinate.
Yeah, so my transition was pretty smooth just because my CC was already a quarter system, so that wasn't too big of an issue. One of the main things though was just like I had a whole lot of extra time, or extra time in a sense, and just to be wary of like how you manage your time. It's good to take a break from studying and go have fun and hang out with friends, or maybe exercise or whatnot. But at the same time, you guys got to realize that UC is hard. All right, you guys have to study in order to get good grades. I feel like sometimes in CC, it's kind of like, oh, I could study, you know, an hour a day, it's fine. But in UC, you have to really put in the time and effort in order to get the grades that you want, in order to pass the classes.
Yeah, so I had to realize I had to make friends in my classes. Like I said, I didn't work with anyone in my community college. And then when I got here, the assignments were a lot harder. The pace was a lot faster. Missing class, like I actually needed those notes. So it was realizing that like the people who were sitting next to me in class, like I had to try to talk to them and try to work with them and like be putting in effort, not just in terms of academics, but in terms of like forming study groups and making friends. And I do think it was a little bit more extra effort as a transfer student, just because a lot of these students already had a year of knowing each other. So I like really had to put myself out there.
Cool. So I would say the transition from community college to the UC system, like everybody else has said, like the quarter, semester to quarter is very, very different. Quarter system is very fast paced. I felt like in the semester system, you know, you would have a busy 2 weeks and then you would have a lull. You could kind of like, you know, relax for a little bit. There's really not that in the quarter system. As really teaches like time management. And one thing that I found useful was really just making friends. It's possible to go through this like by yourself, but it's going to be a lot easier, a lot more enjoyable if you know, get a good like friend group and, you know, somebody who's going to help you study, or if you need to miss class, or if you don't understand something in class, or if you forgot what the homework was or something like that. So I'd really just stress like forming that group to help you out. And I feel like that is one thing that community college kind of helps with. Yeah, it's kind of like building that skill. So one of the resources that I found really useful was the academic enrichment program, or yeah, it's the AEP Center, and they deal with a lot of scholarships and just really, it's just primarily a scholarship office. But if you go there, they have all of the lists. They can help you figure out which ones you're eligible for, how to apply for it, and stuff like that. And because of them, like I was able to get scholarships, and I was able to not work for the first time, you know, in 10 years, and really like focus on school. But all of that money is there. You just need to apply for it. So definitely check them out.
Thank you, Michael. Tiffany?
Yeah, so I transferred from another four-year college that was quarter system, so I was already adjusted to that. But I'd say for anybody who's transferring from another four-year that's not a UC, start petitioning your classes early, because you have to petition them all individually. And and of course, like those classes usually are prereqs to the classes you're going to take in fall. So that's something that you want to start early, because each department does their petitioning differently. Like for example, the chemistry department does theirs all online, but the physics one, they do nothing online. You have to go in person or mail stuff into them. So yeah, that's just one thing I would recommend.
Thank you, Tiffany. So definitely, I would say if you want to be in the know, go into UCSD social media accounts, start following them, and sign up for newsletters. If you can do that right now, I think that will give you a leg up to find out what's going to be going on this summer and into the fall. And I think that's a great way to start meeting people, right? Kind of virtually. We're living in a new world, so we're going to have to like adjust to this and adapt. And so don't underestimate a pizza social, or when you get to go in person, or an online social, because that's really where other students are talking about these opportunities, and you hear them directly from them. So our next question goes into, if you have one secret to your success at UCSD, what would it be?
Yeah, so the main thing that helped me succeed, I guess my first year here, was just learning to schedule things properly. And, you know, again, coming to UC, you kind of have all this free independence to do whatever you want. There's no one that's there to tell you what to do. You schedule your classes how you want. So really just finding out what works best for you. the times in which you're most productive. For me, it's like 1 a.m. in the morning. But, just manage your time wisely and just, adjust.
Yeah, just to add on to that, and like some of our previous questions of where like the best study spots are. I know like for summer we're gonna be online and maybe in fall as well. So I definitely think like taking advantage of Zoom and like, like getting to know people and like becoming friends with them, like through Zoom calls or even like getting used to like the internet could definitely be like really helpful during like actual school time. Yeah, that would be one of my secrets, just like everyone said, like making friends and going through this all together instead of going through it alone definitely will help. Yeah.
Thank you, Manali. Tiffany?
Yeah, so like what a lot of people already mentioned, making friends in your classes and also in orgs. For example, for me, I made a lot of friends through IG, and a lot of them were older, so they were able to tell me like what professors they recommend and what classes they recommend taking together and what classes they recommend that I don't take together. And it's just a good way to form like a study group, and for at least for chemical engineering, like as you go up to the upper divs, you basically just have classes with the same people every quarter. So that's also really helpful for study groups. And I'd also recommend going to office hours. Before, I never really went to office hours at my old university, but here I found that going to office hours saves me a lot of time on homework, and it's just really helpful for clarification.
Thank you, Tiffany. So I definitely want to add that you can't be shy. You need to be bold and ask questions and be forward and ask people what are their names and can you connect, and do that online. I think if you request to be a part of a group like the Career Center at UCSD and you post something broadly, and that's a good way to start connecting with people virtually. And don't underestimate again. Also, if you can start building a calendar for yourself, a schedule, put in 7 to 8 a.m. is your meditation time or yoga time. You have to put it in. And then 8 to 9 is going to be the time when you answer all the emails that people have sent you, or studying 9 to 10, right? Like if you want to be that specific, because I think that when you get to the UC and quarter system, time goes by really fast. And if you don't factor in, hey, time to eat 12 to 1, sometimes you forget to eat. So I think everybody can attest to that. They've probably gone really long eating. And looking for places that offer free food, also be on the lookout for that. And there are a lot of places once you get on campus that have that, a lot of events going on. Which leads to my next question is, how do you stay healthy and take care of your body and mind?
I'm a really big, was a really big fan of the rec classes at UCSD. They're really good. I did like women's strength training, water conditioning or swimming conditioning. It was a pool. As well as like a bunch of other classes. It really helped me like set the time aside every week because like I would have to be there. Well, I don't have to be there, but like the time was pre-scheduled. I'd be in REMAC from 4 to 5. I would exercise. On top of that, there's a lot of intramural sports you can participate in. And then like being in a social sorority, obviously that didn't help me too much academically, but it did help me make friends and feel connected to the campus, which was important for my mental health.
Yeah, so your student fees are, REMAC is included in your student fee, which is kind of like the main gym that all Tritons go to. And so my suggestion is just to go there and work out. Working out is not only just healthy for your body, but it's also mentally healthy as well. You get to meet other people as well, and just kind of like de-stress. You're going to be very, very stressed at UCSD. So definitely find ways to, de-stress. Another thing would be, there's a whole bunch of sports and clubs that are on campus. So whatever you want, whether it be like wrestling, maybe water polo, fencing, there's bound to be a club that, fits your interest and needs. So definitely go into joining those.
Yeah. So just kind of to wrap everything like that everybody else has been saying, real big part is like stress management. And a part of that is like being efficient with your time, which is really important in the quarter system. And to go back one more is like in community college, I was kind of able to like brute force my homework, you know, spend hours on it, but then like figure it out eventually. And I can't really do that here just because like course load. So going to my TA's office hours and my professor's office hours, you know, saves me hours, you know, on the back end of homework, because I can just ask them a question, they'll answer it right there. And I can save myself 2 or 3 hours that I can then spend on more homework, you know, or eating, or, you know, something, or like taking care of myself. So to like go back to the actual question, I like to study in breaks or do homework in breaks. So I'll like study for 45 minutes. I'll take a 15-minute break and I'll go, I'll like cut up food for dinner, or I'll go on a walk, or I'll make my bed, or, you know, I'll do something just to like give myself that time. Otherwise, I just like run myself into the ground and then I get less work done. So I would definitely just be realistic with yourself and pay attention to your body and, you know, into your mind. So
Another thing that I think everyone on the call would probably agree with is like know your limits in terms of course load. Like I think a lot of transfers come in and like they have a goal of like graduating in 2 years or graduating in like a, you know, pretty fast amount of time. And a lot of the time it's just like, it's not worth it to like take a lot of classes and then you just like spend every quarter super stressed, super busy. It might be worth it to just maybe like, you know, take a little more time, but if you have like a better course load, you can be happier, you know, make more friends. Like there's like no real rush. Like take your time and enjoy it.
Tiffany?
Yeah, so as everyone is saying, like the quarter system does move fast, and in the beginning, felt kind of like I had to always be doing like work, or else I felt like I would be behind. But sometimes you just have to do things for your mental health and for yourself. So it's okay to like go on a boba run on a Wednesday night, like for an hour if you need it. I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, that it's okay to do things for yourself.
Thank you. Well, those are all of our questions, and we have over 42 questions in our chat that people have asked to get answered. We can't go through all of them, but I do want to announce that our transfer prep program is still planning to happen in September. It'll be September 8th through the 12th, I believe. We're going to be sending out an email with more information. The application will open June 1st, and I believe it'll close at the end of the month in June, so that you can apply. If you are chosen to be in the program, we are planning for remote, and it'll look a little bit different, but it definitely will give you an advantage in terms of receiving more information from current students, getting to meet some of the current faculty and staff on campus that you can rely on for support. And it's a really just a great opportunity to start getting engaged with the UCSD community. So one question I did want to ask all of you, because I think it's an important one. Somebody asked, how has remote learning affected your courses online? You know, how have you handled that as you know, students are looking to start their school year and it might be remote? What tips do you have? So if any of you want to chime in.
Yeah, or I would just say, just because like the learning environment might not be as ideal for some people as others, but definitely just having a schedule and making sure you actually stick to the schedule and a to-do list is very, very beneficial for me personally. You know, just writing down like, oh, I have homework for this class, and then I have to do, you know, lecture for this class, or I have a project for this class, and just doing like a to-do list or a schedule just really helps make me focus on certain things. And then at the end of the day, you look back and be like, oh, today was a super productive day. Maybe even just give you a little bit more motivation as well.
Yeah, remote learning can actually be kind of relaxing. Like I used to spend like at least an hour every day commuting to and from campus. Got that time back. It's also nice if I don't pay attention in lecture, just something happens, I get distracted. Those lectures are now recorded. So when I get to it on the homework, I'll be like, wow, I didn't, like, it's not like the information's gone. I can go right back to it and I can rewatch that section of the lecture. And it actually makes doing my homework for me a lot easier and a lot less frustrating. It's also easier and nicer to set up appointments with teachers because you're not like, oh, can I get on campus? Can I do that? It's just like, yeah, you just hop on your computer and you can chat. Going to office hours is easier. It is harder to work with other students, but like you can just Zoom call them like normal and go over answers. And I kind of like it in a lot of ways. So. Oh, and that we can take classes pass, no pass until week 10. I don't even have to get like mad if something doesn't go my way. I'll just be like, well, I can always switch this up later. That removes a lot of stress.
I definitely have to say I had a struggle because I'd forget when my classes were. So definitely putting it in your calendar and knowing when to get out of bed and like take notes. That was definitely something that y'all should plan on doing. And yeah, for me personally, like my classes, they made them a little harder because they think that students are cheating during the exams, which I can totally understand. So it's really unfortunate in that case. I'm taking a lab class online too, so it's a little different. You're not really getting that full experience, but obviously this is like the first time this has ever happened. So I think it's good for like for what it's like worth, I guess. I'm at home, I guess, learning. So yeah.
So we had some questions too about and you've already touched on this, time management, but people wanted to know specifically when you're working, maybe full-time and going to school full-time too, how do you do that? So I don't know if any of you have been in that situation.
Currently, I'm full load grad student and I have a TA position and I do some childcare now on the side. So I'm like at like 2 jobs and multitasking, I think, because like if I'm watching somebody, I can also be doing homework and recognizing when I hit a wall too. I actually order like custom planners online that I can fill out and I'm really into my planner. It's a little basic, but I love it. So that's what helps me. And also making time to exercise too is a big deal, especially now.
Yeah, I would agree. It's really all about like time management and yeah, because like I'm taking 4 classes right now, and then I help out with the team program, and then I have 2 research gigs. So I have a calendar that I put everything on because my memory is pretty shot. So as soon as I like think of something that I have to do, I put it into my phone, and then as soon as I get home, I put that on my big whiteboard calendar that I have sitting right next to my desk. Because if I don't do that, like it's gone, it's gone until it's due. And then I'm like, oh, I completely forgot about that. So yeah, be realistic with yourself. It's fine if you don't have a perfect memory, just recognize that and then make adjustments, so.
Awesome, thank you. Another question that got asked was, how do I know what classes to take?
So when I believe it was during transfer prep, the MA department, their counselors came and they gave us kind of a 2-year plan little worksheet and then a 3-year plan worksheet, which lists out all of the classes that you need to take in order to graduate and when they're going to offer or when they're offered. So that's really how you know. I like to double and triple check with my counselors just to make sure that my planned course load will get me my degree by the, I just don't want any surprises. So I would definitely mock something out. If you go on a lot of the department's websites, they have their required courses. Yeah, and then just make a schedule. So.
For bioengineering, they have like a flow chart for each specialty. And so there's not really much leeway, like, oh, I want to take this bio class. It's not really like that. You kind of have to follow the flow chart. And on that, if you just type in like UCSD bioengineering, biotech flowchart or bioengineering flowchart, it'll come up and it's just like a PDF of like what you should be taking fall, winter, spring in order to finish on time. So that's definitely something that's helpful. And obviously, if you have any more questions, like contact the bioengineering department or your college if you haven't finished your like GEs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think for most of the engineering majors, if you were to just Google UCSD, your major, and then maybe like a transfer plan, it should pop up. I know at least for the EC department that does happen. One thing though I should mention though is that some classes are only offered in like, let's say fall or winter. So definitely be wary of that. And if you Google like courses for like EC or MAE or whatever, it will give you a breakdown of like when classes are offered in terms of like if it's only offered in spring, if it's only offered in winter. So just kind of be aware of that when you guys kind of like make your plan or modify your plan in a sense.
Thank you. So someone asked about transfer prep again. It is happening. It's going to be virtual. Applications open June 1st. You'll all receive an email. And someone is wondering, is it going to be useful since it's online this year? I think that the biggest resource that we've been talking about is other people and other students. And so you definitely want to join into this group because that's how you're going to get to know what's going on in your departments, kind of start building that support group early on. And that's how you're going to form study groups in some cases because you'll have these students in the same classes. So you'll recognize the names, you'll recognize the photos, even if it's not in person. Let's see.
Actually, talking about transfer prep, like this is a really cool call, but we have 93 participants and I see a lot of people are like linking their Instagrams, like who's Kimmy, who's this, who's that. So if you did transfer prep, we would just put you with your major and you could do that. It would be a lot smoother and nicer and you guys could be in a chat in like smaller groups or breakout sessions. So like everything you guys are trying to do in chat, you could do in transfer prep, like with a lot better accuracy.
Thank you, Lindsay. So someone asked, how's the social life of an engineer? I heard most UCSD engineer majors have no social life. Willie, do you want to answer that?
I think it honestly depends on you, right? Again, like we've all mentioned kind of like time management and, it is okay to take, time out of your day, maybe an hour, maybe two, to eat, to work out, to, go for boba, just to de-stress and just kind of like relax. So it really is up to the person, whether they want to be social or not. I know a lot of people that just like go to their rooms and that's it, they just study. I know other people that go out every single night to the beach and they drink and they party hard. But yeah, so I think it's just kind of like one, joining clubs and getting to know people and just like putting yourself out there and seeing who you click with and finding people that click with you as well.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it is what you make of it. UCSD is great for me because yeah, you're walking to class and there aren't, people partying on your way to class, and that allows me to separate my social life from my academic life. And that helps me focus a lot. But having said that, there are tons of clubs out there that are known to like just party. So they're out there, you just got to like find them and it's really not that hard to find them. Yeah, so.
Thank you. So someone asked kind of a general question, which is, what does a typical first semester look like for a transfer or first quarter? Are the classes big? Are the professors easy to approach? How can you form these study groups? So if any of you have any tips on that.
For me, I'll make it quick. For me, bioengineering, I wanted to finish in 2 years, but I think a lot of engineers face this. It doesn't really happen. It's typically 3 years. And like for me, bioengineering, your first year is really, because I finished my GETC, so I didn't have any GEs. I was in Revelle, which really helps out. I saw a question about that. Bioengineering Revelle is a great college to be in. and I finished my DEI requirement. So I was literally in between. I wasn't really able to take my upper division classes yet because there were some prereqs that I didn't finish that they specifically wanted me to take at UCSD, but I didn't really have any GEs either. So it's kind of like in this weird mix of like, I was like part-time each quarter. So picking up a minor is definitely good. And when you're in that weird state where you're not really upper div yet, class sizes were definitely a little bit larger. They were like in the hundreds-ish. So yeah, and approaching professors is honest, it's not that bad. Going to office hours, like everyone has mentioned, is very helpful, or talking to TAs is really helpful as well if the professor is not available to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess specifically for EC as a transfer, it's kind of a set kind of course, in that we're trying to get you out into the upper division courses, just because there are still some lower rec courses that can't be satisfied by any CC, specifically kind of like lab courses, which CCs don't necessarily have the money for. So it's kind of set there, but in terms of class size, at least for ECE, it kind of varies. It's like maybe 30, maybe 100. Usually if it's like 100 and above, it's kind of like the class that everyone needs to take. It's like the general class, like a programming class or something. But typically, at least for ECE, I don't know about any other majors, but it's relatively small. I feel like I recognize and know pretty much everyone in my classes, especially after like the first couple quarters.
Thank you.
Yeah, for chemical engineering, it's also sort of a set schedule, and you take 2 classes, which is Cen 4 and Cen 15, which is like MATLAB, and then the other one is like an introduction to chemical engineering. And those classes are great because they're usually all transfers or freshmen. So that's like a great way to make like friends and sort of relate to people versus like maybe if you're taking another major class, like they've been there for like 2 years already. So I definitely try to like, you know, reach out to people in those classes.
So I love all the action in the chat and people trying to add each other on Instagram, which I think is a great way to get started to make those connections. If you didn't get your question answered, I'm going to type in our email for the Idea Center. It's idea@eng.ucsd.edu. And you can go ahead and forward any questions there. If you want to put in the topic, you know, questions about transfer prep or questions about team or for transfer students, then it'll just get forwarded back to me and I can help you answer those. Thank you to all of our panelists. We really appreciate you all. And thank you to all of those who were able to attend. Next week, we're going to be holding another panel session on Monday at 3 p.m. And it's for all of you who are interested in grad school. If you already know coming to UCSD that you want to go to grad school, that panel is going to consist of current grad students who are also undergraduate transfer students at UCSD. And so you'll get a chance to talk to them a little bit more about what that road looked like. And it's at 3 p.m. So let me know if you're interested, if you have more questions. And that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Congrats on getting into UCSD.
Awesome. And then Manali, I'll go ahead and let you stop recording if you hit the recording.